This is Big Man Tyrone, and you're about to watch the MtG Cabal cast with your hosts, Woad, Thirsty, and Reptar. Sub to us on all your podcast networks at MtG Cabal Cast and YouTube.
All right, guys, welcome to the newest episode of the Cabal Cast. Thanks for joining us. This week, we're covering an announcement Wizards made. It was about 3 weeks ago now, something like that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the BNR tomorrow.
Yes.
So the announcement was, of course, Standard Plus, Historic, Modern Light, whatever you want to call it, that's coming to Arena with the Core 20 release in a week. So pretty big implications there, and I guess let's just get started. So, what do you expect?
So I expect Nexus to be legal for a little while, and then it will run the format, and nobody will want to play it, and then they'll ban Nexus again.
Yeah.
And then the format will shake out. But I don't expect this to be a widely played format on Arena, especially after the changes to the grind that you have to do to be a free-to-play player.
Fair, yeah.
If people haven't caught up on that, there was an FAQ that WotC put out under their Arena section last week that details the new structure of the mastery model. And there will be different types of mastery that will get you different things. Most of them are vanity, except for overall resources. So the gem and gold reward structure changes. So they're making it very hard to be a free-to-play player for draft only or constructed only. And now you're going to have to play every type of event. When they shift from, let's say, the current sets draft to a historic draft, you will have to play those drafts. You will have to play every day, and it becomes this untenable model. And if historic doesn't sneak into this model, I don't really think people are going to want to play Ixalan forward standard again. Best of one or best of three, it doesn't matter. If it's best of one, I guess that means Nexus is banned, because that's how they banned Nexus and all best of one play. But then you have this snapshot of a format that people could want to take into paper that doesn't translate. If it's a best of one format and Nexus is banned, doing that at FNM is like playing Pokemon in the late 90s. It's round robin best of one, and that doesn't work out. That's not a model that War can handle it. You just as a judge select 1-0 or 0-1 for the match, and that ends it.
Yeah.
That's not an FNM kind of format. And I think WotC or Hasbro has this idea that this is a format that people could take into paper and kind of ease the burden of the standard churn of cards, where players have to just keep selling to be able to buy back in and continue to play every September. And if that's the case, I don't think Ixalan is a good place to start. I think they should have gone further back and actually created a more robust ban list and a more robust environment in this format than they had in Standard at any point in time. But overall, I'm just kind of ambivalent/heel on this. I don't see it as a huge boon to Magic as a whole.
I'll play devil's advocate here. I don't think I need to really, everyone knows how I feel about most of Wizards' business decisions. That hasn't changed.
Down. Yeah.
So the one thing I can say is that if Wizards is correct, if Arena has bought all these new players into the game, I guess it's a way of getting them used to rotation existing.
Yeah.
And showing them that there's still an option for them to explore. I think the thing that, at least from speaking with some stores in the area, that's kind of sad is none of them have seen an uptick in players because of Arena. Like maybe a couple people came in and bought packs because of Arena, but they haven't shown up at events. So I think this is good for them going forward in the esports marketplace.
Yes. I
think them getting extracting every cent of allowance they can from their players is fine. Hasbro's gonna Hasbro.
Yes.
But I actually hope this does make its way to paper.
Okay.
Modern and Legacy are still better. I just think it would be nice for people who aren't old heads like you and I who've been playing this game for 20 years, to have something like that. Now this is of course me playing a character. I don't believe any of this. I think this format is stupid. I think Wizards
Yeah.
is stupid, and they're still killing this
You
game.
can't just
But
have everybody dump on this format. Somebody's got to pretend to be nice.
yeah, so I can see this for the overall health of the game. It could be good. The big problem though is again killing the free to play model. The fact that you can't go infinite.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't have a robust bot economy that you can use to your advantage to just churn ticks for events.
Or being able to trade cards to friends or other accounts. I was thinking about that the other day, like how it makes things kind of weird for on Arena where you're forced into always playing to try and keep up. You can't just shuffle cards around. Like if you and I wanted to jam games and you don't have the entirety of the deck we want to test, you have to, and you don't have the wild cards, you have to buy gems to be able to test that deck. I can't just trade you cards or loan you the deck.
Yeah, and that feels really bad.
Yes.
And I think that, adding like a playtest option or something is something that I'm sure Wizards thought about and then shot down because it's a bad use of resources because it doesn't make them money. But, I think that it shows at the very least that they're committed to evolving the platform.
Yeah,
and trying to bring changes to it.
There was an article on Business Insider, so it must have been a blog post if it went up today, that basically talked about Hasbro's looking at Magic as being their number one game. The title of the article, I think, is literally "Move Over Monopoly, Magic the Gathering is taking your spot." And that's Hasbro's plan for the next, I would assume, 2 years, is to push Magic. So to do that, you need to bring in the EA model of as many microtransactions as you can. This is still a little off topic because that part doesn't affect Historic, but Historic doesn't seem to account for any of those microtransactions. Like, I wouldn't consider buying gems a microtransaction. Like buying a little pet in the game for a couple bucks, to me, is a microtransaction. That's cosmetic. It has nothing to do with your ability to play the game. It doesn't become a pay-to-win model in essence.
Yeah.
Because of that little pet. But one of the things I did, I think I talked about last week because I talked to our LGS, one of the owners, about Historic. I asked if anybody had shown any interest in the format, and he said not right now, but it is something we would consider if there were people that are actually interested in it. And we actually, at the pre-release, when I was working behind the booth, we were joking around. We were counting the number of stores in a little 30-mile radius, and we came up with the fact that there are 7 stores that sell Magic the Gathering product. They don't have to do singles. They just can hold events, and they sell Magic the Gathering product. We're not counting big box retail. We're talking about like comic stores, card stores, etc. And only one of those places has dedicated cases but no playroom. The other one has dedicated playroom but no cases. It's somebody they contract in essence. And my LGS, the largest one for F&M, does not do singles anymore. Well, the people that are loyal to that store can continue to play their cards without having to worry about where they're going to dump them or who they're going to dump them to, because in essence there's really only one other store to sell to, and then a direct individual who buys cards like that. And if you can't get there on either days that there is an employee there to either for the toy store that has Magic, if you're not there on Friday or Saturday, you can't sell to this individual. And the other store that has no play space but has singles is a consignment shop in essence. And if the gentleman who's doing consignment work there isn't there to buy your cards, nobody's buying cards those days.
Yeah.
So it becomes this really weird timing mechanism to try and get out of your cards. Or you can sit on them and maybe play Historic for F&M. And in that essence, I think it's great for my local players in smaller environments like that, because it gives those people things to do with their cards. Especially when their cards turn into nothingness.
Yeah. Which happens.
Oh yeah, when Blood Sun rotates out, or even now, Blood Sun is worth nothing. Like attempting to sell it to me at a vendor is just kind of a push. I'm not going to pay bulk price for that card to ship.
Yeah,
it back.
I don't even want to pay 5 cents on that card.
Yeah.
That's why.
But now you can keep it, and maybe that becomes a card in a non-rotating format.
Yeah.
So it gives disenfranchised players, like the players up here, something to do with those cards, something to sit on. Whether they want to get out of their big cards or not is different. But at least they'll have the ability to do something with those cards later on, and I understand that, and I appreciate it. I just don't think this format is going to do much for the game as a whole. And I want to caveat it, if things stay the way they do. If WotC says we're supporting Historic, we're going to gas Modern, and Modern is going to be a turn 2 or 3 format with this BNR and then several adjustments coming in, then I can see Historic being a little more of a safe haven for people to play in who want to do big, dumb, mid-range things. Then by all means, this can be their format, just the way Modern kind of was at the tail end of Extended. That. And
prior to Bridgevine. Stupid.
Well, it's
stupid Hogak.
Oh yeah, but it's not even that. It's the format as a whole can be a lot faster if WotC wants to let it be faster.
Yeah.
They could bring back Git Probe and speed the format up by probably about half a turn. Whether or not Hogak still reigns supreme, I don't know, but Git Probe and Phoenix seems pretty good. Git Probe and Infect still really good, especially with Scale Up. They can definitely juice this format a bit and speed it up if they want to, and just make it a kind of heavy punch format that it seems like it's going to be in time if they don't actually cull it with something.
Yeah. Which, on that note, predictions for BNR tomorrow.
So that's a chat floating around in my team's little Facebook group. A lot of people expect Hogak to be banned, and I don't think that's the right call. In regards to that deck, so some people have been looking at it as, well, Hogak and Alter and Carrion Feeder are brand new cards to the format. You don't want to ban a brand new card, so you get something like Faithless Looting. Well, then you have splash damage to other decks that don't wreck the format. Dredge doesn't wreck the format, and neither does Phoenix. And you know what happens? Even in Legacy, when you stop caring about the graveyard, then Dredge and Reanimator come back. So what happens? You care about the graveyard, and you suppress those decks. It's not that bad to have Phoenix and Dredge in this format. If a deck like Humans can be the best deck in the format, like as was stated on, I believe, both the Cedric Phillips podcast last week and maybe Pro Points, it's not bad.
Yeah.
When that deck is at the top. So that's kind of to me, the waterline. And I think that should be the waterline for a lot of people. When Modern is healthy, a deck like Humans can be up towards the top.
Yeah.
So what I think happens is we do see Abandon in a new card. Nothing that has splash damage, but something that is an engine piece for just shenanigans. And what shenanigans? You don't know. But you know it's shenanigans. And I think that card is Altar of Dementia. I know it was a card I went heavy on a couple weeks ago. I suggested it to a number of people as something to look to pick up on and spec on, because that card had an upward trend even before Modern Horizons in this printing.
Yeah.
But I think that's the card to go. You don't want to get Bridge, because then that stops people from experimenting with the graveyard in any way, shape, or form. You don't want to get Hogak, because you still leave Altar that does dumb things. And if you pull Altar, then that just leaves you with Hogak, Vengevine, and Bridge. And what does that do? It allows you to cast an 8/8 trample without haste that doesn't sacrifice to do anything. It just exists for a turn, which buys you time to find a Vapor Snag, a Path to Exile, or any number of existing cards in this format that deal with this card. It's not that big a threat. I think Altar is the card that goes. There's no reason to have any discussion about Ancient Stirrings when that card does not exist right now in the format. The only Tron deck that I've seen is Eldrazi Tron, and they do not play that card.
Yeah, they literally can't.
And if they want to preempt Urza, they could probably preempt Urza. I don't think that card is going to be a problem in the format, but if they see something they think needs to go, then they might clip that. But I think the Modern BNR is solely Altar, and I hope that they announce in Historic either the format is best of one, thus no Nexus, or no Nexus in Historic, gone.
Yeah.
That's what I want from this BNR. Those two things. Although I do want some unrestrictions, which I guess we can talk about afterwards. But
yeah.
Do you think anything goes?
I think here's what I think should go. I think Altar should go. I think Looting goes.
Okay.
I think we may see some shakeup in Pauper. I know some people are like, "Oh, Ristic Study's got to go in Pauper." I'm like, it doesn't seem like that bad right now.
No, but I don't know the format that well, so
yeah. Looking at the top decks, Blue Red Delver has Rhystic Study sometimes. It's not even always in there, and it's usually in the board. So I don't think that goes at all.
No.
I would love to see, them unban everything that just got banned and ban foil instead, since that was clearly the problem.
What does Sinkhole go in that it necessitated a ban? We could not figure this out at the pre-release.
Mono black control, being able to turn one Dark Rit Duress Sinkhole.
That's all we could come up with, but nobody knew for sure that Sinkhole was actually in that deck. So
yeah, it would be.
I mean, if it were
would
legal,
make it the best deck even more so. But I mean, you've got, Oubliette and Ashes to Ashes also dropping in at the 3-drop spot. So like, you're pretty crowded there.
Oh yeah.
But hey, whatever. Watsy gonna Watsy.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm still holding out hope that they'll unban my boy Rampaging Ferocidon.
In standard?
I don't even know why that card's banned.
Oh,
I know Red was just going to be the best deck unless they banned it. But hey, yeah.
That's what people were talking about. My argument for it has always been, I guess they wanted tokens to be a deck, but they never supported that deck with good enough cards for it to be a deck. And then people shot back with, the mono red mirror match becomes who gets the Ferocidon first, and mono white it becomes untenable. I'm like, is that really so bad?
Yeah, like, does that look at it now? Mono white is barely a deck anymore.
Yeah. But I guess it does make certain things difficult. Like it shrinks the ability to play a mid-range strategy and makes you have to have an answer to Ferocidon on 3 always, and it changes the shape of the format, obviously. But I don't know what it looks like. I can get behind that because we're going to lose Ixalan anyway in the fall. So why not just let him loose in the format? 3/3
see what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't seem.
It's never going to happen because Wizards, but I would love to see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that we may see. Everyone has been calling for something in Vintage since the format has turned to absolute trash.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen how the London Mulligan affects it yet. So I don't think we see anything in Legacy, and I don't think we see anything in Vintage.
No, I
think
agree with that.
For those two, they wait to see what happens in the format and what that does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I taking it full circle back to the first topic, if we get like an announcement about Historic and Nexus, I think Nexus might be a decent pickup in paper.
Oh yeah.
Because if they just don't say anything about it, well, Nexus is going to rotate soon anyways. So start picking them up because it's an insane card for EDH, and if Historic ever comes back to paper.
Nexus, and so for the past 2 months now? Nope, not 2 months. For about a month and a half, Search for Escanta has just taken a nosedive.
Yep.
Its market is 1147. And that is a format staple card for Legacy, Standard, and Historic.
Yeah.
So that is also not a bad card to move in on. I think Teferi is still high because he puts up results. 5 CMC Teferi puts up results in all formats. So if you have him, cool. If you don't, wait. I don't think he's a card you can really spec on necessarily. 15 for little. What's the name of the big one?
Hero of Dominaria.
Hero, that's right. I should know this, but
yeah,
I don't.
It's got pulling up MTG stocks, all-time low, April 11th, 2018 of $13.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And we're still at a low of 32 now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's no way this card is going to be a viable spec at any sort, unless for some reason it drops below $10. But that'll never happen.
Yeah, I don't see that happening ever.
No. We might get surprised with a Narset ban. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Narset in Legacy and Vintage. Just get her legs cut out from underneath her.
That would not surprise me either.
A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to somebody who is, I guess, a well-known Vintage player in certain circles, and I asked, what are you playing in Vintage right now? And he basically said, Dredge and Narset decks. Anything that isn't shops.
Yeah.
So like everything that isn't one of those two decks is a Narset deck at that point, and it is true. I haven't checked the Paradoxical deck, but I'm pretty sure I've seen Narset in there. So
it's running Narset.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's very format defining, almost to the point of actually being format warping.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. That may be something we see on this announcement for Vintage.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even Dreadhorde decks, literally Dreadhorde, in the format. That's like
Arcanist or
Dreadhorde Control with like Narset, Dak Fade, and stuff like that. It's just the old control lists.
Yep.
And it's, guess what's in there? Lavinia.
Oh yeah, the 0 CMC. Sorry, the 2 CMC. Yeah.
Yeah. As a 2 of, and it's just like your old like balanced style decks that every now and then have a Dreadhorde in there somewhere.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty Dreadhorde Arcanist, that is.
Yeah.
So
because it flashes back
done a
all
lot
your good
there.
blue spells.
Yeah. So it's definitely like since War, Vintage has been in a very weird spot.
Mm-hmm. For the first time in a while.
Yeah. I mean, Dredge also has Hogak now.
Yep.
So you've got that running around. You've got Karn running around in shops. You've got Karnless shops.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in a really weird spot.
Oh, absolutely.
But
yeah. This BNR provides a lot of wiggle room for them to do a lot of things, and I don't know when the next one is. Was it 8? Are they 8 weeks apart or something like that?
Yeah, like 8 or 10.
Yeah, so
I believe. Yeah.
So we'd see one in the fall, probably before the Pro Tour. But I can't imagine that over the next 2 or 3, we don't see some format shaping BNRs for older formats and then historic. Because I assume once that format goes live on Arena, it becomes a pillar format to play. They're going to take as much data as they can, and maybe even interim BNR for paper, put out Arena BNRs for historic, and try and shape that format as best they can.
Yeah.
Like,
and I
put bounties on it, whatever, for gold or gems, just to get people playing that format. So.
Yeah, I think I expect them to push that as much as possible. So I think that, maybe this might be a time where I actually don't just dump all my standard at rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have a lot of standard, I try not to keep it, but
yep.
I mean, if there's a chance that some of this stuff, like obviously I'm going to hold on to Search, I'm going to hold on to Teferis because those are too low, but I think you could see some stuff actually, tick up, whereas you might not always see it. So.
Oh, yeah. I actually did dump all my standard at this pre-release. Not all of it. So, same. I got rid of everything that wasn't immediately playable in older formats because I didn't want to wait until September and hit that decline.
Yeah.
So, like Twilight Prophets, I got rid of all my extra ones. I got rid of Doom Whisperers, some odds and ends walkers from Dominaria and Ixalan that will be leaving. Basically, anything I could get rid of for any price, I got rid of because I don't want to be holding the bag on them, and I didn't believe, I still don't, in Historic as a paper format.
Yeah.
But I did keep my larger cards, but 4-ofs of things like Benelish Marshall, just in case Historic becomes a format. I didn't want to sit on 16, but I'll sit on 4, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I don't know. I feel like that was a decent move because, like I said, it gets me out ahead of the fall sell-off.
Yeah.
Everybody else is moving out.
For sure.
Like, J-Light Rangers still have a price now. Will they in the fall? Probably not. So if you're holding on to standard stuff and you're not playing it, it's not immediately playable, and you do not think you're going to be playing Historic as a paper format, then just in the next couple of weeks, just cut it loose.
Yeah.
I don't know the GP formats coming up and the Star City formats, but I assume over the next month we're going to have a bunch of standard. We're kind of at the tail end of the modern stuff with the PT coming up.
Yeah.
And like, if anything's close or you can just ship to CK, just do it. Just get out and buy into either another format or hold credit for the fall set.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and my recommendation. But any thoughts on an unrestriction? Or an unbanning?
Unbanning. So I
don't want to walk you into your pick. We'll hold off on that, but
my pick. That's what I'll say. That's. I also think we may see, and I know this is a rumor. Every time a BNR comes up for Modern, we may see Stoneforge finally. Especially with Hogak, the format's way too fast for it to matter.
Yep.
And honestly, I think, Batterskull is incredibly good in Modern, but as long as, Jit stays banned, I think Stoneforge is more or less fine.
Yep.
It might be very, very good. I also don't think, contrary to what Wizards said in the last BNR, when they were like, "Oh, blue white's already the best deck. We didn't want to give them Stoneforge." Like, it doesn't go in blue white control. It's a different deck.
Yeah.
And I think we could see that. And other than that, I don't think there's a lot that really needs to come off the list. I think, Stoneforge and then my pick are the two best options for coming off.
Stoneforge was the card I had in mind for this BNR. Whether they want to gas this format or not, I think Stoneforge is in a fine place. I think there's more than enough cards to make a viable either blue-white or green-white creature style deck. Go back to the old Hate Bear style of deck, and eventually you just tutor up Batterskull or one of the various swords in the format. And the reasoning behind that is because, exactly like you said, this blue-white control deck is not a legacy blue-white control deck. It uses Celestial Colonnade to win, and that will not change moving forward. With Stoneforge Mystic unbanned, because you only have Batterskull to go get, and you do not have as many free counterspells as you need, especially on your own turn, to maintain that Stoneforge Mystic and that advantage. You also do not have Jite, so creature decks can exist. I think SFM is probably the best call for this format. If they do want to gas the format, then I think Deathrite Shaman comes off the ban list.
Never gonna happen, but God, I miss those days.
If they want
those
to
were the
speed up,
best.
It's a good card, and it was a great section of the format. But it's without Pod, you only have it in Green-Black X decks, which we haven't seen in a while. There's been no good 50% deck in the format for a while. I mean, Jund and Abzan Stalwarts will continue to play that deck. Does Deathrite Shaman slot into the Counters Company deck? It absolutely does, which is if you want to consider it Birthing Pod, by all means go ahead and do that. It pretty much is Birthing Pod. But I don't think Deathrite Shaman really does that much to the format anymore in comparison to what it used to do to the format when you had Birthing Pod and Jund as some of the top decks. Without Storm in the format, without Infect in the format, without a lot of these other decks, I think DRS is fine. You might have a problem with it when Burn starts playing it again. That could be your waterline for whether or not it needs a rebanning.
Yeah.
But I think you can give it its day in the sun like they did Golgari Grave Troll. That thing took one additional ban restricted list to get rebanned. And you know what? You can give DRS some time in the sun. I think that card's fine to bring back.
Please, WotC. Please.
So I'm going to move into picks if you want to...
All right. I think it is time to free the political prisoner in Modern. And by the political prisoner, I mean Splinter Twin. Mm-hmm. That's my pick this week. I'm going all in on the BNR. I think it should be unbanned. The card's great. And if it gets unbanned, it's going to explode within 15 minutes of the announcement.
Oh, 100%.
I also think that it's fine for a long-term pickup because this will see play in the EDH forever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kiki combos exist in EDH. They're like when you first get into high power commander, one of the first things you do is build a Splinter Twin combo. At about sub $4, really good position.
Yep.
You can get foils from Rise for around 30 right now if you want to go that route. And the foils for the Modern Masters set, because it was the one with the awful foiling, are like $15 or less. And I think that's just a really good spot to get in on. And it's not exactly it's not super liquid, but it's also not illiquid. It's easy to offload.
Yes.
And I would just, I want to see it come off the list. I want to see it explode. I'm sitting at about 15, 16 foils right now and about 40 to 50 non-foils because I love this card.
Yeah.
It's great.
And you can just, over time anyway, it will disappear from binders and from trade stock. And it just goes over time. I like the card, especially as a long-term hold. You don't need to move in on infinite of these because you only need one in EDH.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can buy your 4 for $20 regardless of version and be happy about it until the end of time because over time this will dry up. I doubt they're going to print it again in another Master set because they already faux pod it the first time when they put it in 2015 and then banned it the next
Yeah.
BNR. Like, WotC doesn't like to have too much egg on their face at any one given time.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, right. And
But
if they want to gas the format and just make it a standoff, then I think this card is perfectly fine. They didn't like the play pattern of it before, where you just waited until the end of your opponent's turn, then put Pestermite into play, and then Splinter Twin and your turn win. But then they made 3 mana Teferi, and you can do that still with infect creatures. So it's a little bit of a double speak if they let stuff like, if they literally put that clause on a Planeswalker and then don't bring back Splinter Twin.
yeah.
It is just a solid playable regardless, like you said, in EDH. And I'd bring up the price graphs here, but the moment it was banned, it just tanks and then goes flat forever. Like, there's no need. There's no need to bring up this graph. There's no real good trends to it.
Yeah. I think it's been sitting for a while, and similar to how Stoneforge, every announcement, you'd see a huge spike.
Mm-hmm.
Splinter Twin, until the last couple of announcements, would see a brief spike.
Yes.
But then it just stopped.
Yeah. If you look
So.
at the graph for the Rise of the Eldrazi version, you will see a bit of a stepwise graph, and the floor resets over time from $4 to $5. But it does. You can tell when the BNR is, because it just like step up or sawtooth up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
My card for the week, because we decided to be in our theme this one, is much like yours. It's a long-term gainer in Batterskull. And I know there's a GP promo for this, which made it a little more accessible, but the GP promo has different art than the set. The set foil, I believe, is still ridiculous at close to $50. Let's see, put that one in there. Yeah, it's about $48. But the non-foil Batterskull, I'll bring this up, is sitting pretty at about $17. Clean up this graph a little bit. But it is not, the price is not beholden to the BNR. It has just been kind of flat, a little bit of a gainer. Once people figured out you can still play this card in EDH.
Yep.
And because it's a living weapon, the only time we'll see this reprinted is in a supplemental set with living weapon, or if we go back to Mirrodin again. Or
I don't think that's likely.
no.
Wizards can't design a set on Mirrodin block that doesn't require bannings in standard.
Yeah, you can look at it another way, which is every time they do a heavy artifact set, something goes wrong and they have to ban something. It happened in Urza's block, it happened in Mirrodin, it happened in Mirrodin again, and it happened in
Kaladesh. Yeah, true.
Though, to be fair, the banning in the Mirrodin Besieged era was on Stoneforge Mystic and Jace, which were the block prior, but it was because of these artifacts that they were banned.
Yeah.
You also had Birthing Pod from this set, which eventually got banned. So,
Yeah.
come as it may.
So,
In that regard.
yeah, I think it's a good one, especially the GP promo. It's unique art. It's the type of thing that, at the time it was a promo, it was played everywhere.
Yep.
And now it, sees fringe legacy play because most people are down to Sophie and Jit.
Yes.
And they cut Batterskull altogether.
Yeah, without a
So-
dedicated Stoneblade deck in the format like there used to be with, not even with Deathrite Shaman, but there was just a change in the format with, I think it was Leovold, that got rid of the true Stoneblade decks, the Esper Stoneblade or what have you. You lost Batterskull as this kind of top-end finisher to decks that played Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah.
And
I think that makes it a really good pickup, especially because if the meta ever shifts back to that, and you'll still see every now and then a Stoneblade deck pop up at a Star City or something, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But I think this, similar to Splinter Twin, is just a decent long-term pickup because, like you said, they're going to disappear. They're not going to reprint it anytime soon. You're at a super low risk for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a powerful effect that people play in EDH. I mean, every Boros deck is just mono equipment.deck. I don't think that's going to change.
Every Isamaru deck is mono equipment, and that's it. That's
Yeah.
why Batterskull has maintained its price and slowly gone up over time. It's not a huge gainer. It's maybe a percentage point year over year, without access to actual play in Modern. But if
Yeah.
Stoneforge Mystic comes off the BNR, then we see, like I said, you can look at a taxes list, so something either mono white or green white hate bears, and then you can also look into a blue white taxes deck with both Thalia's Stoneforge Mystic and Lavinia to just try and lock the game down, and then you just go deep for your blue white sword. Sword of Fire, and Ice, and Batterskull, and those are your 3 pieces of equipment that you run, and all of them are eminently castable. And with 3 CMC Jace, you can still flash in Batterskull at EOT and kind of treat it like a Stoneforge Mystic activation, but yeah, right.
That card. Good job, guys. Good job.
It's a good passive ability, man. Who doesn't like a Lurin on a Planeswalker?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fair, never broken
magic.
Anything. Yeah, fair and balanced magic, exactly.
Yeah. But that's it from me in regards to both historic and our little tap dance around the BNR.
Do tune in. We will actually be doing a special episode tomorrow after the BNR, where you will likely see me flip out about how awful Wizards is and how they're ruining their game. It'll be great.
Yep. I think it might be an audio-only podcast I got to see, because apparently it goes out at some ridiculous time EST tomorrow. It goes out in the evening.
Yeah.
If they don't, for whatever reason, fat finger the update on their website, then we'll see it. I think it like
which they
8
could
or
do.
11. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we will announce when that comes out. Otherwise, I am at Halt. I am Reptar.
I am at Thirsty Sizzler.
We are at MtG Cabalcast on Twitter and Patreon. We are still looking for a few more patrons to fill out our UMA giveaway. And you can always find us on Twitter for our newest updates, though this weekend we were admittedly a little silent as I was vending and you were taking a weekend off from Magic before we get back into the thick of things next weekend in Detroit.
Which you can find me at Moose Loot next weekend at the Detroit Grand Prix, and you'll be with Face to Face?
I will be with Face to Face, and I should be the only one there with both a hat and a hoodie.
Nice.
I like to keep my brand
8 Mile. That's right. All right.
We'll see you guys.
Yep. Catch you guys later.